Hey Shannon,
Hi, how are you?
I'm still breathing.
Well, despite the fact that you talk shit about me in your videos, I want you to know I care about you and I've been trying to get a hold of you just to see how you're doing.
I
How
care
are you doing?
about you too, Shannon.
I'm sorry I wasn't the greatest, you know, I'm sorry. I've got issues, but,
I
we all
know.
do.
As long as you're willing to admit them, that's the whole thing, is that if people can't admit their issues, they don't work on them. At the
Yeah,
same time, I got issues too.
I know. I just was wondering, how are you doing?
Um,
Because you ditched me on Facebook, so I can't follow you on Facebook. So I'm like, well, call him. And I
uh,
want to know, because I do genuinely care about you. So continue. Tell me how you're doing.
well, I still miss everybody. I was able to get Erin Cockerham to talk to me a little bit. She, is one of the great many people that the cops refused to take a police report from.
I heard that today. What is that? Is she somebody in one of the like admins or something?
No, she's one of the people that was sticking up for me right from the very beginning.
But I mean, the name sounds so familiar, but I don't know.
You remember Layla Johnson?
Yeah, the
This
Layla
is
name. Yeah.
this is the lady who I thought was her sister. It turns out Layla Johnson was not even a real person. I mean, she's a real person, but her name's not Layla Johnson. That's one of the
Okay.
great many things that Dan did that pissed me off. He knew she wasn't who she said she was, but he never bothered to tell me that. She had me
Is that
worried
like?
one night because she was, I finally, this is the first night after Natalie died that I was able to sit down and actually work on stuff. And she called me up and played like she was going to kill herself all night. Those pictures of her aren't even her. And then the other things that Dan pissed me off is that instead of fighting out the situations, he always sided with others. So, I mean, that's a very complicated thing for me where I he feels entitled to basically treat me like shit for not thinking the way that he wants me to because he sent me money. And that sucks because I really like Dan. I think his heart's in the right place, his head's just not.
Well, I think that you. This is the same thing with me. Like, dude, we never. Did we ever have it? We never fought when you were here. Never. You and I. I know we had lots of like Zanny is an issue. You know, like Zanny's severely autistic. I mean, there's a lot of commotion in this little house, right? But that being said, you and I never had an issue here. I know you didn't like. Okay, I argued with Rick, but with you, did I? Did we ever argue? Never.
Well,
I
that's
was not
the
disrespectful.
thing is that with Dan, he kept on holding stuff over my head that he wasn't there for. Like when I yelled
Well,
at you in chapel, he held that over my head probably 20, 30 times. I'm like, dude, find out the situation instead of judging. Please call me and listen instead of texting. But he wasn't getting it, you know?
well, maybe we can, try and talk to Dan. I mean, I haven't spoken to Dan. I see you still on my Facebook. You're not. Um, you ditched me, but why don't you unblock me?
I can do
Said you
that.
care about you.
I can do that. I can unblock you.
All right, no, because I mean, Dan, I don't know him in real life. I've never talked to him on the phone. We've talked through groups, like the little messages we used to send. But I'm sure Dan, he cared a lot about you, obviously, or he wouldn't have done all the things he had done.
Yeah,
You
the,
know,
the
so
problem is that his assumptions are
everything
getting
to
in
be
the way.
fixed, Sean.
I agree.
Everyone likes people like you for a reason because you're a good person.
Well, I'm also an asshole to everybody.
I
People.
never, not once did I ever call you an asshole. Well, so I was pissed off at you for blocking me, but no, you're not an asshole. I mean, like, you're a good person. Like,
I am a good person, but
dude,
I am an
yeah,
asshole
you
as
are.
well. It got to the point where I had to be an asshole in order to defend myself.
I
And I
know,
mean
and
that.
I mean, you are a good person. I would not have had you. I would not have let you in my house had you if I thought you were a bad person. My kids like you. Ethan's like he makes you in video games. He makes Sean. You know what I mean? Remember you were for the family. You're like, oh, Sean's room, everything. Remember Sean's room and
I do.
Uncle Sean. Like you were part of the family, and you can still be here today.
Well, I can't.
I
I
know
can't get there.
hard. Huh?
I can't afford to get there. The other thing
We
is,
all like you that much, though.
I need to be able to. I need to be able to get an income. I mean, a lot of the places that I've been, the biggest issue that there was the fact that I didn't have any money coming in, and these are all broke folk, you know?
I know, and I think you're going to either have to. That sucks. It's like a red tape thing. It sucks. You might have to turn yourself in to get the income back, right?
That's the thing, is that I would rather die. I don't have any problem with turning myself in as long as I can.
Have you die?
As long as I can get an honest day in court, it's worth it for me to turn it myself in. But they're not going to allow that. I need to get an actual attorney. And that's the thing.
So
I mean,
I watched this David Lane thing yesterday. I watched that video yesterday. Who is this David Lane person?
He's an attorney in Colorado. He's friends with Darren O'Connor, who is one of the people that I worked with through the outreach.
Okay.
I was a human rights activist for about a decade in Boulder. I've been a human rights activist longer than that, but I was stationed out of Boulder. Darren O'Connor, he's been going to college to become an attorney. He has to pass the bar exam, but he's graduated college just a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
But when I first started taking the homeless people's stories, we had to try to get some video equipment. And we'd been working on that for probably close to 2 years, maybe 3, by the time Natalie died. I mean, we'd been talking about it longer than that. A lot of homeless people had. But David Lane is a guy who Darren O'Connor got to work with a little bit. He was able to win over $3 million for a woman who went through what I went through, but only in one place.
You want me to try and contact him? Or have you tried?
David Lane?
Yeah.
I have, but you can try contacting him too. Give him my number.
I'll tell him, because I can say from, that you lived with me for 2 months, and I can do that. Wait, I need to get a pen, though. If you could give me the number, because there's a lot of David Lanes, I'm sure.
I don't have it currently, but you can definitely look it up. I might be able to text it to you just shortly. I can't actually.
My ex boyfriend was Sid. My ex's father was David Lane, so not the same one. But if you could send me that information, I will gladly do that for you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I can give you, because I know you live here, so.
Yes, ma'am. I'm a lot different in real life than I am on Facebook, aren't I?
Yes, you are. You're awesome.
On Facebook, you'd think your dog would bite me.
I do, even though you piss me off and you talk shit, but I do. I love you and I miss you. And my kids, Ethan's like, oh, Sean, he makes you on this video game. I mean, come on. Everyone, remember? Sean, no. We all love you, Sean.
I know. I know. I love you guys too. I mean, you guys are great.
Everything.
That's the thing, Shannon. There's a lot of people that I'm absolutely 100% grateful for their help. The problem is that it's not the help that I needed. And that's something that I'm not mad at them individually for not helping me the way I needed. It's the fact that they didn't listen to understand what I needed.
I'm trying to listen.
I know.
And I wish you would, if you could come back, but I probably cost a fortune to come back.
I won't be able to afford it.
You're in Wyoming.
I'm in Wyoming, yeah.
I am.
There's a gentleman in Idaho who wants me to go see him and stay there. He's willing to pay me some money for my welder and for some of my welding skills, which are non-existent. I've never used a wire feed before.
I was going to say you're a welder. No, because my ex-husband was a welder. So you've never been a welder. Well, so what
The big thing is that I need people to come together and pressure the fuck out of the media to fucking do something about this. I mean, my human rights were violated worse than any of these people who were being, well, except for the dead guy. His rights were definitely violated worse than mine.
I don't think the black guy.
Nope. Actually, I got his name here in my backpack. Let me pull it out. Alright, so I've been collecting information on the officers that assaulted me. And a lot of them have been in the news. Officer Lolatai is the one who assaulted...
You're muffled a little. You're a little muffled this time.
Oh, sorry. Let me move the phone. I was pulling stuff out of my backpack. Alright, so... Officer Lolatai assaulted a guy named Sammy Leon Lawrence IV. And that's got some YouTube videos. The officers, Sheriff's Department, because I was assaulted by both the Sheriff's Department in Boulder and by the Boulder Police Department and the Longmont Police Department. So it's been a very, very trying time. But James O'Brien is one of the officers, and Adam Lunn is the other one. They killed a guy named Demetrius Shankling.
Okay. Hey, friend.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt. I know I always have a tendency to interrupt. You want to interrupt? I mean, not interrupt. Do you want any questions? You want to just ring a bell, like about when you called me when you were like under the influence because they give you drugs and whatnot, and you're like, ma'am, I can't answer any of these questions because I don't feel comfortable answering because I don't even know what I'm saying right now.
Well, I didn't know what I was saying. The drugs they put into you, it's called a chemical restraint, but really it's a chemical lobotomy.
No, I'm just telling you, if you ever want to ask me about that, I'd be more than happy to tell when you called me that time.
Yes, ma'am. Well, that's stuff that it would be really important to let the media know, let David Lane know, let anybody know. But that's the thing, is that because of the mentally ill tag, no matter where I go, people treat me like my words don't matter, like I must be automatically guilty, and that's why I needed somebody else to go in with me. All of that money that Dan Favorite spent was supposed to be to help me to get to a safe place and get somebody there who could help me by going in with me. And the fact is, the cops went out of their way at every turn to make sure that anybody who was willing to help me was either scared shitless to do so after we called 911 or separated me from them, or, pretty much anything that the cops could do to prevent a report from being taken or prevent evidence from being shown. And the thing that was pissing me off...
I wish you would have stayed here. I really do, because, you were like one of my kids. Seriously.
Well, here's the thing.
You were so kind every time. You'd say, oh, ma'am, can I have... Do you mind if I have, I'm like, you don't need to ask if you want to eat something, you just eat it. You don't have to ask me, remember?
Well, that's the thing.
The kids missed you when you left. Everybody, it's like Sean, they all call it Sean's room.
Me in person is completely different from me on the internet. Me on the internet is because I'm trying to fight for our rights. Me in person just wants to be good to people, I mean, I had a lot of people threaten me, and I needed to force the police to do their fucking jobs. I mean...
But you are a good person, even though you piss me off.
I piss everybody off. I'm an asshole.
Shit on the internet. You are a good person. I'm just being legit. You are a good fucking person.
Well, here's the thing, Shannon.
You can stay here. If you ever need a place to stay, you can stay here again.
With the money that he was spending on me, and I mean, it wasn't $1 billion or anything like that, but it's the fact that the stuff that I needed, all that money that he spent on me, and it still couldn't get someone to go in with me in court. And all of these people need to come forward and make reports to the police in Colorado. I mean, if they can...
I wish you would tell me what you mean by making a report, because
Anything that we were
I think part of
involved
it is
in.
I don't know
All
what you
right,
mean
so
by making a report.
you've been following my story from the beginning, right?
Yes, but I mean, like, I wasn't there to witness anything, so how can I make a report?
Well, you were there to witness that stuff. You were the one that sent me the thing that showed me what Kara Miles was up to, or Kara Johnson.
Oh,
You know?
okay. I thought you meant like I thought you meant like the Natalie stuff.
This is
Did you
all
mean
because of Natalie. All of the stuff that the police did was because of Natalie. It was all because
no?
of
But I
Natalie and
thought
her
you meant like
family.
Natalie being molested or
No,
whatever. I
no,
didn't
ma'am.
know
No,
you
no, no,
meant.
no, 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 no. I'm talking about all of it. Anything that you've been involved with me, since Natalie was
Okay.
killed. I mean, that's the thing, is that
Oh,
people
okay.
keep
See
thinking
that?
that
See
it.
now I think like
Stop,
people are
stop, stop,
confused.
stop, 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 stop. All right. What I need from you is all of that stuff, like the situation with that Kara Johnson lady, and the fact that she was smearing my name in those groups while pretending to be my friend. That's all
Okay.
important stuff to write down. The fact that I was too fucked up to understand what was going on when I was released from Longmont Hospital, that's something
Yeah.
that you can make a report about. Any of the harassment in the groups, which you saw it was a fucking shit ton of
I
it.
did.
And there was a bunch of
Yeah.
threats, and you got to see those threats. Those threats that the cops literally did everything that they could not to take a look at. You saw those threats. So you can file a report about that. And you can tell
What
the
kind
media,
though?
you can
Like,
tell the media that. You can call the media and try to pressure the media. If you have any friends that you think might be able to help or might be willing to help, get them to help. I mean, that's the thing, is that these are human rights that people on the news are always complaining about, how this person's rights were violated and that person's rights
yeah.
were violated. And I'm looking at it going, oh my God, this is shit that happens to me at least twice a week before Natalie died. How the fuck are people getting millions of dollars for this? Oh yeah, because they have money to begin with and family and people in their corner.
So I did listen to the David Lane thing today. I was like, and I was like, damn, yeah, you're saying like a sexual predator and all this shit.
Yeah, the one of the guys that he defended,
And
they
this
settled
fucking
out of
guy is
court.
like defending this piece of shit, you know?
Well, it was because of what the police did to him. The police assaulted the fuck out of him because he was a sexual predator.
They should
Stop,
have,
stop,
because he was
stop.
a
Let me
fucking piece of
stop,
shit.
stop, stop. Let me explain something start to
Okay.
finish. When people accuse you of being a sexual predator, you don't get an honest day in court. When you're a homeless person, you don't get an honest day in court. When people accuse you of stalking someone, you don't get an honest day in court. And when you try to turn in the police for assaulting you, you don't get an honest day in court. That's the thing. This whole time, I've needed somebody to go in with me to make a report, to force them to make a report. And since my rights were violated, and you got to see a lot of those rights violated on Facebook, I mean, that's the thing, is that it's not just Facebook. People have that mentality in real life that I have to deal with. And I'm separated from people who know me better than that, who are too afraid to come forward. And you've gotten to see screenshots of that too. A great many people that are fucking scared shitless to come forward.
I can say one thing that so if you're recording me, whatever, so be it. You lived with me for like almost close to 2 months, and you were nothing but. I wish you would have told me when you were mad at me. Because you never did. You're like
I
so
wasn't
sweet
mad.
all
I
the
was
time. No,
frustrated
I'm
and
like,
I
you're
was
so
scared.
sweet. I'm like, damn it.
I wasn't mad.
I'm
I was
giving you props
frustrated
here.
and I was scared. A lot of the
Scared of
stuff,
me?
like when. Yeah, it was definitely too loud. You remember when
I was
you.
not mean to you.
Not mean. I didn't say mean.
Oh, I thought you said, I'm sorry. I
You,
thought you said mean. I'm sorry.
no. But anyway, a lot of the stuff that was going on there, like I needed to be able to.
Rick and I. Yeah, or.
No, no,
Well,
no, no.
yes.
See, now you're reading into it. I haven't even finished my sentence, and you're already interrupting it.
So,
All
okay.
right. So what I'm saying is, as far as like with you and Zanny, with her and you being very loud during the day, when you asked me not to make the videos during the day because of the sounds and stuff, not to make the phone calls because of that stuff. Like during the daytime is really when I needed to work on that stuff. So
And
I
guess what?
was
Can I tell you one? Can I tell you something that's really good?
what?
Something's happened, and Zanny's really like. I don't want to jinx it now. I have to knock on wood. But Zanny's been really good lately. I don't know if medication change. I know you hate medication, but Zanny's been like really good. So it could be medication.
That's the
I know
thing,
you would hate.
Shannon, is that you're bouncing all over the place. I'd like
I'm
to be able
sorry.
to
I'm
finish a
trying
thought.
to
I know.
stop. I'm trying to pace myself because you don't like when I talk too fast. Or
It's not that you talk too fast, it's that you keep talking over me and assuming what it is that I'm trying to say, and then you
okay,
interrupt
I'll
me and
stop.
try to finish my sentence for me, or you sidetrack on something else, and that's not helpful for me. That's not helpful
Can
at
you
all.
continue?
Well, that's the thing, is that there's 5 different issues that you interrupted so far since we've been on the phone, and I'm
Well,
trying to go back
I
to
can tell you
them.
where I left off. It's Zanny and I. You were talking about Zanny and I.
Right.
And
So
Zanny and I in the
when
daytime.
when
And you
you
needed
guys
the time in the daytime.
right, I get it. So when it was during the daytime and I couldn't make those phone calls or the videos because you didn't want that stuff recorded, I mean, it's pretty important for me to have to do that stuff, but it's also important for me to not be rude and have all that stuff on. And when it gets to the point where I'm just completely overwhelmed, I shut down, and that's what I do. I mean, when it gets to the point where I can't leave the situation, I have nowhere else to go, I have no money to my name. Like that's a lot of stuff that's complicated. Like for me, when I went down there to see you, what I was planning on doing was just using your mailbox and having Graham send me all the information that I needed him to send to me while I still had money to live on. But then not having the money to live on shuts me down because I have to make that money so I can go places, so that I can sit and
Right,
have
Graham took
coffee
forever
and
to
have the
send
internet.
stuff. And I honestly, Sean, you're like what, like a member of my family, though.
Well, that's the thing,
I
Shannon, is
didn't
that
mind. Like,
I'm not
no,
trying to
I'm
talk
not
shit on
giving you
you.
shit.
I'm saying
I'm
that it took
telling you
six
I
weeks
care
for
about
that
you
to
that
get there.
much.
Shannon, did it take 6 weeks for that to get there?
Yeah. The Graham stuff.
Yeah.
Or more, yes. Took a while.
And he was supposed to send it that first Friday. So that's the
Yeah,
thing,
and
is
you're
that
like, yes,
by the time he sent
absolutely.
it, I was overwhelmed. I'm in hurry up and wait mode. All I can do is make videos to try to vent, and that's why I make the videos, is because most people, they end up talking over me right from the start. Every sentence, it's what they have to say is more important. Like with Dan Fabert, at the very end of it, he was doing the "you're a pussy, you need to just man up," all that fucking shit that everybody else says. And I'm like, dude, no, fucking listen to me like a human being. But he hates
I'm
talking
trying.
on the phone. He hates it. And he hates listening
I'm
on the
trying.
phone. Do what?
Sorry. I said I'm trying. I'm really trying. Like,
I know.
because I know it's not just, it's me, like, my attention ADHD. But I'm trying, really trying. Like, and I do care about you. And even though you fucking piss me off on your fucking stupid videos, yeah, but I still care about you. Because you are a fucking person. So, if you're recording me, yeah, Sean Schwartz is a good person. I promise you that. I'm like, I promise you. Seriously. Like,
My
even,
friend
you know what, I'm
Rihanna,
fucking the most, and I'm not a tolerant person.
my friend
So,
Rihanna here, she wants to help, and she's about the closest
who
to
does?
to familiarity. Her name is Rihanna, but her husband
Oh,
hates
Ray.
her husband
Oh, is that
hates
the one who was like, husband won't let you, that's the saddest thing. Like, husband won't, she cries and stuff, right?
she does. But
That
anyway,
sucks,
her
dude.
her husband hates
Okay.
me. Last year, some of that money that Dan sent me was to try to get me somewhere safe, and Rihanna's place was one of those places where people offered to let me go and it was safe. But then when I got to Cheyenne here, she let me know once I was already here that her husband said no. And that's the thing, is that a lot of those situations, I was expending resources that I needed in order to pay for important stuff like my medical records that I still don't have. And
Oh,
as far
yeah.
as
Oh, was she the one that the one that I said to get. You remember? Oh, she's the one. Or is that Aunt B? About the medical record. Remember? Because I was like, oh,
Aunt B was supposed to, but Aunt B was supposed to, but she's another one of those ones with a grumpy husband.
Okay.
So, like, for me, trying to get my mail there was impossible because she doesn't want to have me over when her husband.
Here, dude. You can still use mine.
No, stop saying that, Shannon. Common sense. Common sense dictates that if I have stuff sent to you, I'm explaining this to you for the 40th or 50th time, Shannon. That's the thing, is that last time we were on the phone, I explained this too. It doesn't make any sense to have stuff sent to you just to have you have to send it here to me. While I can just have it sent here to me. If I had an address for you to send it to, then I would have an address for them to send it to. I don't have an address to do that. Now, Ray is going to... Ray says...
So you don't have an address.
That's the thing. Even if I did have an address to have it sent to, because Ray said that I could have it sent there, I am not going to have my mail sent to you in California for you to send it to Cheyenne, Wyoming, when I can just have it sent to Cheyenne, Wyoming. If I have an address, I can have... Stop. If I have an address, I can have them send it directly to my address. There's no reason to send it 2,000 miles in the wrong direction and have it sent here. That's just redundancy. That's doing extra work for no reason.
Okay.
So I'm not trying to be a jerk by saying that.
Well, unblock me. Will you unblock me, please?
I can do that. Yes, ma'am.
I'll tell everyone on Facebook, you are a fucking good person. You're a pain in my ass, but you're a good person.
I am a pain in the ass. Yes, when I shut down, people think...
I am a pain in the ass. Yes, you are, but one that I care about keeping around. If I didn't, it wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't.
That's the thing, Shannon, is that I need help. I need help getting someone who can actually do something to bring some attention to the things that happen to me, because it's a violation of my rights as a human being. It's a violation of the Constitution, and I am very different in person, am I not? Me and Natalie never had an issue in person, not even once. Me and Alicia never had an issue in person, not even once. Shannon.
Yes, Shannon's here.
When we had issues, it's all over texting. All of it. Me and Dan's issue was all over texting. Me and Natalie's issue was all over texting. Me and Alicia's issue was all over... Well, it wasn't just over texting. Alicia was a pretty fucked up individual when I was in Virginia. But that's the thing, is that none of this was my choice. The only choice that I had to make was whether or not I defend myself. And I had to defend myself, and I still do. But I need people to pay attention to the fact that these are all of our rights that were violated. It's not just my rights, like my rights are any different from anybody else's on paper. That's the thing about illegal precedents. Once they set illegal precedents, then it makes it okay for them to do it to anybody. So if you end up homeless, then they can do it to you. If Zanny ends up homeless, they can do it to her. If Rick ends up homeless, he's pretty much homeless. But if Rick ends up homeless, they can do it to him. And that's the point in getting help, is that I literally get treated like I'm some sort of super psycho serial killer rapist when I go try to talk to the cops. Now, they can even talk to me nicely.
Let me say one thing. If you're recording me, Sean Schwartz is not anything. He's not crazy. He's not a pedophile. He's not anything gross. He's not a pain in my ass, yes. But Sean Schwartz, my kids like it. He's a good person. He is a good person. And he's screaming to be heard. Sean, would I have ever had you here to begin with? Fuck no. I wouldn't let you come into my house if you were a bad person.
I know, but you've said that about 8 times in this phone call already.
I'm trying to say it because because in case you're recording me so they can hear, anyone can hear. You are a very good person. I know you're fucking struggling. You piss me off. I piss you off. I can't imagine living like how you've gone through so much. You have gone through so much in your fucking life. Now it's like, what if? That's why I don't believe in God. Not just because of you, but like there is no God. If there was, why in the fuck would people have to go through so much? My aunt, her last year of life, went through fucking hell.
Yeah, I remember she got one of her legs taken while I was there, and then just a couple of months later, they took another leg. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you shouldn't have gone through this shit. You've gone through hell. I'm not going to say anything on this, because in case you're recording, but well, like you told me, like when you're a child, that no one should ever go through that.
But it's not just that. Like, since Natalie died, a lot of the people who tried to help me, like with you, with your aunt, with Dee Dee and Rachel, and Dee Dee's aunt, and with Erin Cockerham and her son's broken jaw, and with Mandy Hughes and all of her illnesses, and her daughter's blood clots, and this fucking psycho stalker drunk lady who's coming after her and her family. Like, oh my God. The psycho lady? Yeah, she has a stalker. I don't know who her stalker is. I don't know the lady's name.
Mandy?
Some lady is stalking Mandy, yes, and her daughter.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about it. Yeah, I think I might know what you're talking about.
But that's the thing, yeah. Is that's all stuff that doesn't have anything to do with me, but it's also stuff that prevents her from being able to help me. And because of those health issues, like when I was saying that every time that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, it gets shut in my face, it's not because of anything that I did. It's not because of choices that I made. I didn't choose for this lady to stalk Mandy. I didn't choose for her husband to get laid off of work. I didn't choose for her daughter to end up sick. I didn't choose for her other daughter to get a concussion. And this is all stuff that comes up when they're trying to help me. But unlike that Brooke Freeman lady who was just pretending to try to get sympathy because she didn't keep her word, this stuff is legit happening to Mandy. This stuff is legit happening to
nice
her kids.
I love her.
Me too.
Mandy's yeah, and she likes you a lot. You know,
She gave me permission to write her story, and that's pretty important. She actually wrote part of it to me, but that was on the Christine account, and I didn't get to save it. I asked Christine for...
Guess what I've got? Guess what I've got?
I already know that...
Okay, well, I've got it. It's taking up a whole a lot of my phone. I've got the... when you're on Christine's account, I saved that.
I already know that. You've told me that about 30 times too. Ma'am, you already sent it to me. That's the thing, is that that's not the same. That's old. The information that I need is more recent than that. You sent that to me when I was in jail last August.
You already have that. Should I delete it? Because it's a huge file. Should I resend it in case?
That's the thing, is that I need... When I'm talking about this, you keep bringing up that same thing over and over and over again. I already know you sent that, Shannon.
Okay, do you want me to delete it then? Because I kept it in my phone. Should I delete it?
Yes, you can delete it. It's not going to do me any good.
Okay.
You can resend it to my Facebook if you want, or resend it to my email if you want to.
I mean, I will.
But the point is that when I was talking about evidence, I wasn't. That wasn't an invitation for you to say the same thing again. It was me trying to explain the situation, and then you interrupted it, and then we get sidetracked, and then I'm the bad guy because I eventually start screaming. We don't need to get sidetracked so many times.
I never got mad when you screamed. Come on.
But that's...
wait, can I ask you one question?
Yeah.
Who is Stephanie? Like, I just look out for you. Who is Stephanie?
Which Stephanie?
Recent, like you had on your YouTube channel, because I can't invite you.
There's like two different Stephanie. There's two different Stephanies.
Recent, like the
lady. Stop! You don't need to fill in every half of a second of blank space with more talking. If you're gonna ask me a question, you need to let me answer it, Shannon.
Okay.
There are two different Stephanies. One of them is Stephanie Brooke Freeman. And she's the one who is pretending like she had cancer to make it okay, the bullshit that she pulled. The other one is a Stephanie. Well, there's actually three Stephanies, because the other Stephanie I know in real life. One of the Stephanies is
She
a
didn't know
nurse.
you in real life.
Stop. I know. One of the Stephanies is Stephanie Brooke Freeman. She didn't know me in real life. It was just entertainment to her. She's into Death and Chucky and Jason and all of that
Sean,
stuff.
the Chucky thing. Stop it.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about her. She gets off on the death thing. But anyway, another Stephanie is the Stephanie who used to work in the jails, the one in Hawaii, and she said that it's terrible where she was working in the jails, so she quit. She was a nurse in one of the jails, and the guards just treated them like hell. And then the third Stephanie is a friend of a friend. She's heard about me through the grapevine, and she wanted to extend.
That's the one I'm concerned about. She's like all of a sudden like
instead of being concerned, understand that. Remember, I was telling you the story of Emery and Arturo with Natalie and Alicia under the library. Well, not Arturo, but Emery used to date a woman named Wings. Wings is a good friend of mine. She lost a baby and she went crazy over it. She's pregnant again, but she's not a bad person. She's fucking straightforward. She'll tell you how it is. She can come across as kind of a bitch. Matter of fact, she's one of my models for being an asshole to people. But she's a good person. And this Stephanie is a friend of hers, and they know each other in real life. She knows who my brother is. She knows everybody that I know.
She's legit. Because I look out for yours. Even though you piss me off.
When people were trying to verify,
I'm looking out for you. Like,
I know.
These calls,
let me tell you something. When people are trying to look out for me, one of the things they need to understand is that I do my best to try to cross-reference these people. Like when Shelly called, the reason that I knew it was Shelly.
Who's the one who Kara Johnson? Who found out?
Stop.
Who's Kara Johnson?
Stop.
Okay. Yes, Master.
Let me finish the story before interrupting me to ask more questions. All right. What I'm saying about Shelly is that on October 29th, when I got out of the police station, Alicia Bollinger called me. The number that she called me from is the number that Shelly called me from later, which is how I knew it was the stepmother that we had talked to, because she was telling me that she had let Alicia use her phone. And people kept on going off on me. Are you sure that's the same Shelly? Are you sure? Yeah, I saved the number as Miss Alicia in my phone on the 29th of December so that I would know that it was her.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that when Shelly called, she called from the number that I had saved as Miss Alicia. Now with Danica, that was a lady who is kind of sort of verified through Karamia, who ended up being a fucking complete and total nut job.
What happened with her, by the way? Because I heard one call with her. It sounded like a decent telephone call. Like, what happened? Because, like, you seemed to, like, you went off the chain. Like, what happened with Karamia? Because, like, I heard the one call, like, maybe a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
What happened with her?
That's a very complicated situation. She or that Layla Johnson lady are the ones that were reporting my Facebooks. When I was able to make another Facebook to speak out, it was one of those two who was reporting it. But it was Karamia who, when Candace was intimidated by the police in Colorado, she gave the GoFundMe to Karamia, who kicked everybody out of the group and destroyed that, and as a result, I literally got $0 out of any of the GoFundMes. But she also...
I remember that.
Right? So that's a lot of stuff that...
I think you're... Okay, go ahead. You tell me. I'll talk to you after.
That's a lot of stuff... That's a lot of stuff that Karamia needs to take care of. She needs to come forward about. And her war with Aaron Cockerham, that's something that really I shouldn't have ever had to deal with. Kind of like when
Who
I
is
was in
Cockerham?
Virginia.
Who is she?
She's the one who was friends with Layla Johnson.
So Layla Johnson is the one who wanted you to like masturbate over the phone?
No.
Okay. That was a different Layla. No, there was no Layla that wanted to, like, right?
So you keep asking questions instead of listening, and as a result, I never get to finish a story. But you ask a lot of questions when I'm in the middle of sharing something, and you absolutely have to speak. It's an absolute must. So if I'm speaking, you'll speak over me, not paying any attention to the fact that I'm still speaking and still trying to tell the story. So I only get 1 or 2 sentences into it before I'm interrupted again.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just asked a question.
It's alright, you do better than my dad does. He interrupted me literally every single sentence. Like, alright, Sean, let me ask you a question. Now I'm gonna talk over you and tell you how I feel about it. Like, holy fuck,
I'm trying
Dad.
hard, Sean. You know how I am. I'm trying. Like with you, I'm trying. I've got, this is how I am with everybody, but, you know, come on. So, continue. I'm gonna, okay.
That's the thing, is that there are a lot of different people that I've been involved with, so instead of interrupting me trying to figure out which is which, just let me tell the story. The story is more important than which one is involved in another story. Just pay attention to the story at hand.
Okay.
As far as Aaron Cockerham goes, she's one of the ones that was threatened by people on Facebook. So is Karamia. So I need them to come forward and make statements about that. Which means that, and they're some of the people who were prevented from making statements and told that they weren't allowed, or told that it was because I was out of state, or that I had to make the report, or things of that nature. All things that apparently, if it's illegal for me to do it, then the police broke the law for the Bollingers. If not, then they broke the law to prevent me from doing so. And that's the whole issue that's going on here, is that so many people want to stop me and tell me what to do and what to think and how to feel. They're not taking the time to listen to the stories that I'm telling. And as far as
I'm trying tonight.
I know.
Am I not trying?
A lot of the evidence that I sent you, I sent you a crap ton of files, but with you having a telephone to do it on, that's the same problem as Miss Peaches. Miss Peaches doesn't get to look at any of that stuff, even though I sent it to her. Mandy doesn't have the ability to do that either, so she needs help from Alyssa. But Alyssa doesn't have time, and they're mother and daughter, they get into argument spats and don't talk to each other for weeks at a time. But they still love each other. But at the same time, in most of these situations, there are a lot of different people that were involved. So trying to
set all off, but we all care about you. You know why? Because you're a fucking good person. Even though you fucking talk shit about me up and down, you're a good person. So I hope everyone hears that. Okay? You are a fucking good person, or I would not be talking to you now. I wouldn't have called you, you know? And I would love to help you. God damn it. Seriously. I'd love to fucking help you. I'd love to. These fucking pigs that have fucking screw. You know what I mean? You're a good person.
So the homeless population in Los Angeles is lower. Homeless people are dying in Los Angeles faster than they're becoming homeless.
You know what? Remember my friend Jay?
Yeah.
That saved us the streets. He's now like, he makes a whole shitload of money now. He's HIV positive. He's gay, and the guy, I used to fucking hang out with him on the streets. He used to eat fucking sandwiches with fucking bugs on it. He's like, I'd eat sandwiches with sweep the bugs off. You know, the ants off the top. He's fucking just awesome now. You know, it's like at least I think it's one good thing that I've done. And Mari, but Mari, her mom wants her to go to Gilbert, Arizona, but she wants like Rick to drive there.
She has a bunch of what?
I mean, listen, Sean.
Yeah.
Mari apparently can't walk. She can't walk right, and she forgot what she talked about. She talked about her mom with. Whatever the conversation is, she forgets. I'm like,
that's because of the drugs she's on.
I was like, she's probably drugged, but fuel drugs. You know?
They've got her on a lot of drugs, guaranteed.
What would you do? Like, I mean, her mom, like,
all right, Shannon.
Old.
I got a question for you about Mari. Before Mari went into the institution there, before they put her on pills, was she able to hold a conversation with you?
Yes, she was.
Was she able to remember stuff?
I think so, yeah. I mean, like,
was she able to walk?
She did weird things. Like she pooped in the laundromat and stuff, but yeah, Mari, like, now, like, apparently she felt a lot. I thought about you. I'm like, dude.
The drugs that they put her on changed her a lot, did they not?
What's that?
The drugs that they put her on, she's not the same person that she was, is she?
I'm not sure. To be honest, I've not seen her again since the one time, but I don't think so. Like,
that's what the drugs do. One of the ladies that helped me out, her name's Anna. There's a few different Annas that I know. The picture that I sent you of that girl who had her wrist cut, that's the Anna who died a couple of weeks ago. There's another Anna, and she's trying to do what it is that makes people happy. They keep telling her the same things they keep telling me. Drugs, 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 drugs. So she's testing out all these different drugs. Stop.
She's dead. The one you told me about a long time ago.
I'm telling you about a different Anna now, so let me tell the story. The other Anna, she is still trying medications to try to make other people happy, but she's homeless now. A lot of the issues that she's facing aren't fixed by drugs, but she's doing the medications that they're telling her to take because she wants to get better. And she wants to make people happy, which is the reason that she's taking the medications. They have the same reaction with her as they have with me. They make her sick. But also, she's taking them in pill form, which is different. When they give you a chemical restraint, they inject that stuff directly into your system. And I told them not to put that shit in me. It was a bad idea. They injected that stuff.
I thought about you when that Mari used to be able to walk around, and I thought about everything you said. That Mari, like, now she can't walk, she's falling down. Mari can't walk before.
So are those drugs helping her?
She can walk.
Anyway, I really need to get off the phone with you because I need to go to the bathroom. Okay. And I'm going to try to get some sleep.
You're giving you props, dude. You know?
Yes, ma'am. Well, as far as Mari goes...
Unblock me.
I will. I'm going to do that in the morning, okay?
Love you.
Love you too. You be safe, Shannon.
You too. Okay.
All right. Bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
I interrupted her a few times too. She was trying to tell that story about Mari at the end. But I need people to understand what's going on so that they even know what to tell people, or even what to write down, or even who to try to communicate with. Like Shannon is a difficult person to have a conversation with. There's a lady here at the Starbucks. She's a very easy person to have a conversation with. Actually, there's a few of them here. The folks here at Starbucks have helped me out a lot. Always Starbucks. When I was in Virginia, Alicia's boyfriend worked at a Starbucks. And that was the Starbucks that I was hanging out at. That was at Alicia's request. And all of the people at that store were good to me. Matter of fact, before I left Virginia, I went in there to say goodbye to those folks and thank them for being good to me. I also explained the situation to them and explained to them that, yeah, I get to feel like the bad guy. And the manager there said, no, you're not the bad guy. You're not the bad guy. And a few other people that were there that worked there like, no, you're not the bad guy. But at that point in time, I already knew that in their minds I was the bad guy. Not the people at Starbucks, but Natalie's family. They didn't bother to find out the situation. They just assumed that I was in the wrong. The problem is that resulted in multiple assaults against me. Multiple assaults over things that I didn't do, and was prevented from actually coming forth in court, prevented from even going to court. So they got to win their court cases because the police went out of their way to prevent evidence from coming forward and preventing me from actually going to court. But it's difficult to explain that to somebody who's always constantly going off on something else. Now, as far as ADHD goes, I can't blame it on ADHD. I can't. If you can understand and comprehend most of the day, and you can remember things that I said yesterday and the day before, but then at nighttime, you can't remember what you said 30 seconds ago, let alone hear what it is that the person that you're supposed to be listening to is saying. What happens? What's the difference between the night and day? And it is the difference, literally, in this case, of night and day. What do you do at night that's different than what you do during the day that makes you that way? Because if you don't have ADHD during the day, but you have it at night, there is something there that is a big change that is making you that way. What is that change? What is the difference between daytime and nighttime? Is it chemicals? Is it afraid of the dark? What is it? Because that's not ADHD. It's not. I know I have ADHD. But at the same time, it's difficult to show anybody what's going on when they're busy going off. They don't mean it as an insult. They don't mean it to be a jackass. But it makes it difficult. And I have enough communication issues already. Now, without all this stuff that I need to take care of, I'm actually a lot different. But I do need to take care of all this stuff. I need to clear my name. And all of these people who decide they were going to treat me like shit over things I didn't do, they can kiss my ass. I need an honest day in court to defend myself against these people and to protect myself against these people. But when you're constantly wanting to interrupt and tell the same thing over and over and over again, well, then I haven't finished what it is that I was saying to begin with, so I start over from the very beginning. And whenever you ask questions, it's all over the place. Well, what about this one? What about this one? What about this one? Let me finish the story, which is the whole reason I started making videos, is so that I could get the story out without being restrained, without being constrained. When I have to do things in a hurry, which is literally what happened most of last year, everything was rushed because I have to go from one court date to another, to another, to another, to see another public pretender after another, after another, after another. Most of the time for them not to even show up. Yeah, I get worse every day. I want this shit to end. I needed an honest day in court. The fact that they prevented me from having an honest day in court is fucking disgusting. It's a violation of my human rights, and the fact is they're going to use that in the court dates when I go back to Colorado to turn myself in. That's why I need an actual attorney. And people telling me that I need to go turn myself into the places that I was abused in order to get my disability back. With all due respect, I got my disability taken away because I was assaulted by the fucking cops repeatedly. And the police refused to take my report about the assaults against me by civilians or the police. No matter what, the police went out of their way to do exactly what Shannon does. Interrupt me repeatedly. Jump all over the timeline to try to make it confusing. It doesn't confuse me, it confuses them. Instead of focusing on, oh, is this one, or is this one, shut the fuck up and listen. And I'm not trying to be an asshole by saying that.